so on that note, where do you want to start first? Do you want to start in the East or do you want to start in the West?
I think let's start in the order that these series finished. Let's start in the East here.
Okay. So the Carolina Panthers, they're taken down in 5 games.
Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Hey, you got some football. This is what happens when you go to Arizona for a bit.
I met a Carolina Panthers fan in
Okay.
too, so I was like, oh my god, I knew that was going to happen.
That explains that.
Because I also said that as well. Yes, the Carolina Hurricanes taken down in 5 games at the hands of the Florida Panthers. So the Florida Panthers now 3 times in a row going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're 1-1 in their previous 2 meetings or previous 2 appearances there. And man, it's really tough for me to kind of bet against them. I'll be honest with you, Christian. I've had money on the Florida Panthers to win the cup since before the playoffs started. I got them at pretty good value because they snuck in, but they went in kind of unders, being the third seed in the Atlantic Division, right? And this is before I kind of figured if somebody was gonna have to if the Leafs were gonna go through against the Sens, which they did, and the Panthers were gonna have to go through against the Lightning, which they did, they'd end up meeting each other. And as much as the Leafs losing to them hurt, I still have I could take a little bit of solace that I could win some money off of them. But
I'm sure whatever number you got it, like you said, whatever number it was that you got it at, probably better than what it is right now.
Oh, it's definitely a lot better than right now, for sure.
Actually, yeah, that's a given. But even if
after the first round, if you put money on them, it probably still would have been better if you did it beforehand. Obviously, right? Everything kind of the money just tends
There's
to
just less teams,
go that way. Yeah, you're right.
My point,
100%. But yeah, for the Panthers, who do you want to tackle first? You want to tackle the winner, or do you want to tackle the loser?
You know what? Let's get the Carolina stuff out of the way here. Unfortunately, it was a dismantling in a way that we've seen fairly recently. The two teams matched up a couple years ago, and the only difference is that Carolina was able to squeak out one win, their first win in 16 tries in the Eastern Conference Final, to break that streak. So, no, it was a dismantling. It kind of sucks if you're obviously it sucks if you're a Carolina fan, but I mean, it is almost a similar conversation to the Leafs, where it's how many times can you get to the same kind of wall that you've been up against and lose in really the same fashion basically every time. So it's not like the Hurricanes have found a new way to lose here. It's always just by pure utter domination. It makes it makes it look like every step that they take is for nothing, that their system just does not work against certain teams. It can look fantastic against others, just how they dismantled the Capitals because they kind of played a similar game and just did it way better. Yeah. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals here, I would say it's 2 different styles, 2 different philosophies, distinct philosophies, and one just totally trumped the other. I want to give tons of credit to 2 guys in particular from Carolina. First being Logan Stankoven, who I think even before the Florida series was someone that, even go back to the regular season, just an instant fit in Carolina. And a lot of people have said that he's kind of prototypical Carolina Hurricane that they were able to acquire in the Mikko Rantanen flip. I wouldn't even say that. I think if you put Logan Stankoven on any damn team, he's a good fit, to be honest. You tell me Logan Stankoven in a Leafs top 6 doesn't look good? Definitely. And I really do think he's just kind of a fit on any team type of deal. I don't know if anyone thought he was a perfect fit in Dallas before his debut, but he just adapted to that lineup, looked good there. Same idea in Carolina. He really showed that he can be a important piece. He is going to be a top 6 fixture for them. That was a great consolation prize in the Rantanen chaos.
Especially given how young he is too. Is he 20 yet, or is he?
He is 20. I think I want to say he's 22 or 23. I'll give a look here. But the other guy
regardless,
too is also No, and
Like,
the other guy too is Jarvis, right?
yeah.
Like just two young guys, right? And
Hmm.
for him, the shout is just more of the injury that he went through, and he revealed this over the weekend. Just a shoulder injury that he's been dealing with basically most
All
of the
year.
season. I'm assuming, I was gonna say assuming before Four Nations, but you know what? It could have even been before then. I don't know if he specified, but he basically said he's not gonna get surgery on it this summer because he wants to be ready for next season and he wants to be in consideration for the Olympic team. And I
Hmm.
mean, just watching him this year, I don't know. If you told me that he was fully healthy, I would have believed you just because he was playing so well. Like, he was still putting up great numbers. He's another one of the dogs in that lineup. Like, kudos to Stankoven and Jarvis. What do you got on those two? Or either of them, yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, especially with Stankoven, I'm gonna go back to his age coming into that Dallas Stars team, especially that was already lined with talent and making an impact almost immediately. I know a Star I think dipped a little bit at the beginning half of this year before the trade to Carolina, but still like just sticking around in that lineup was already going to be a hard task in itself. And then for him to have to like kind of uproot his life at a young age and move to Carolina and almost kind of like seemingly just fit in like a glove. Maybe that has to do with the system in place. Like you said, the system probably just fits him better in Carolina. But let's also give credit to the people, like the staff and stuff around Carolina, to have him in there and to fit him in seamlessly, right? Like it takes a lot, especially for somebody at that age, to jump in and look as good as he did so quickly. And for Canes fans, I know you missed out on Mikko Rantanen, and we saw his production kind of tail off in the conference finals, but the first two rounds of those playoffs probably weren't the greatest, like regardless, like even though that the Canes were winning, but you see Mikko Rantanen on the other side of the bracket just absolutely tearing things up, and you're like, what if, right? Um, yeah, I don't even know if you have Rantanen there, like maybe you win 6 games, like
Yeah.
for Carolina as a whole, what are they gonna have to do to it kind of feels to me like they're going to have to kind of pull back in order to go forward. They're going to have to maybe take a couple blocks away in order to build back up again. I feel like maybe this is just the extent of what this iteration of the Hurricanes can be. I don't know if you have a similar thought there, if maybe you think differently.
The good thing is they're gonna have a lot of cap space this summer. So in terms of like pulling away from some guys, on the blue line especially, you have the
Hmm.
Brent Burns deal that comes up. Okay, so that was a hefty one, even with the retention that I think they had. Also, and this is a guy, if we gave some shout outs, a guy that just, especially in one game in particular, I think it was in game three, Dmitry Orlov, his deal is up, and he had one of the roughest individual games I've seen all playoffs, maybe even in a couple playoffs. Like, it was awful, 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 awful. And it was a performance that I don't even know if you can come back from it another year. Like, especially with his deal up. Like, I think if he was under contract, they might have looked to trade him. It was that much of like a, this isn't gonna work here type of deal. And listen,
But
he's a great player. Like, he's definitely a top four guy. We saw
yeah,
Bobby Orlov in Boston for that little bit of time,
yeah,
so
I know.
he'll land on his feet. But
100%.
I think
But
that's somewhere you could see some DNA change.
I
As
think right from
stealing a
the
word from Brad.
I think right from the start for him, like just because he was already being pushed down the lineup as soon as he
just
signed
because
there.
just because the blue line's like really good, like it's not. It
Yeah,
was less of an Orlov thing and more of a, you have Slavin, and I think he signed in that
Pesci
Pesci
at that
last
point.
year,
Yeah,
right? Burns, Chatfield and Walker this year.
Chatfield.
Like,
Yeah.
there's just a bunch of names there. Nikishin now, like it's a loaded blue line. You know, that's always been kind of the calling card, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, but
It
7 million for him, I think that's going to be used elsewhere.
7.5, like 7.7, like
Hmm.
it's like almost $8 million, right? For a guy that was he like he wasn't their out and out like that should be your 1D, maybe 2D. Like, was he even that?
No, I think with Carolina, it's like really they're the number one defenseman but will always be Slavin just because of how much they play the guy, how much they trust the guy. But then they do need someone to pick up the offensive side of it. And this year they had Gostisbehere, who I think like fit in pretty well. And I think you would have been reasonable to have like doubts that would work because Gostisbehere to me doesn't seem like a Carolina system guy. And so in a sense it worked, but at the same time it didn't because this is the result that we're talking about. So I don't know if with that the thing is once again like just the free agent market is not great on the forward or the blue line really. Like I don't know if you could go and poach an Ekblad and get his money for Orlov's like maybe that feels good for you, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
feel like they're gonna do a personnel change on the blue line, but it's gonna be internal. I talked about Nikishin before the playoffs. I thought like hell, he'd be someone that instantly stepped in. They very much eased him in and didn't get him in until they really needed him because of
yeah.
injuries. But I think he showed flashes that like he's just a solid, a rock solid, well built dude that is going to he'll fit in as soon as next year. And I think once again I will double down on saying like I think he will be a difference maker for the Carolina Hurricanes next year.
No.
Scott Morrow, another young guy who that you know what it was like? It was like whenever the Leafs started getting Sandin into lineups in the playoffs, and you kind of were like, we like Sandin, doesn't look great in the playoffs. That's kind of what happened with Scott Morrow, but he's another one where it's like lower the blue line. If he's your 5 or 6, you feel good about that. So like internal DNA changes on the blue line. And then like I'll do this first. Let's RFA's another guy that could get a shout out is Jackson Blake. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw much of him this playoffs, but like thoroughly impressed. They had him on like some PP1s in the Panthers series, and like he looked the part completely. He's an RFA, so actually no,
I had him
he's
as
not RFA.
my
He's got one more year on here still.
yeah. I
Yeah,
had him as my breakout player
yeah.
when we did our like the first
Hmm.
playoff prediction. And I don't think he had that great of a series against who did they play in the first round? Oh, Jersey. He was
Yeah.
the guy that I was like I was pegging as somebody to like have an impact down deep in the line. But I don't think he really did. But then against the Caps, he started to turn it on, which impressed me. And then yeah, I mean, even when he's not on the score sheet, I would say like Blake is he's a noticeable guy regardless if he's getting in on anything, which
That's how I felt about him too. Yeah.
for somebody playing like deep in the lineup, like that's all you can ask for. Yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to see how he develops alongside the other like young guys on the team. But just something I do have to ask before we jump off of them. But like, was it in Game 5 where Jesperi Kotkaniemi took like just a brutal penalty?
I was just about to bring it up. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they are they looking to maybe? Do you think that they'd be? I mean, they should. I think personally, they should be looking to kind of get out from under that deal. He's still got
He's got
one,
4 years of
two.
it still.
Yeah,
And he is crazy that he's only 24 still.
I
That
do.
is crazy.
That's ridiculous. I thought
Um,
he'd like be almost at 30.
yeah.
It feels like
He
he's
is
been in the league for
making
so long.
honestly, like I still have I'll never forget like just the Habs fan being like I can't remember if it was it a Habs fan or was it actually like Zadina's mom who was like what the hell when the Habs picked Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, the
They just immediately
yes, I
panned
know
some lady
exactly
in
who
the
you're talking
crowd,
about.
and like she became like the meme from that draft. Because it felt like Zadina was a lock there, and then they went with Kotkaniemi. Anyways, yeah, long way of saying dude's been in the league for a long time. He's making 4.82. You know what? Like, you look, it's it's like you said. Like they should 100% be looking to get off that money. Who the hell is looking to get on it though? Who's looking to take that? It's a really tough one. It's it just goes to show you that for all the offer sheet talk, where it just feels like, oh, you can get a fantastic player for some draft picks. Like, why don't more teams do it? This is one example where you locked yourself into a deal that you kind of quickly regretted,
Yeah.
right? This is
Like almost immediately too.
yeah, and this was a once again about the offer sheet stuff. Offer sheets are often spiteful. That's what that one was. That was because Sebastian Aho got offer sheeted by the Canadians, and they said, "Well, now we'll go and do it to your guy." Haha. Turns out the joke was on themselves. I know that wasn't Talski, but he's paying the price now. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the good thing is they have so much cap space where it isn't a crucial season or off season to like move Kotkaniemi. And it sounds stupid, but yeah, like you've seen a lot that shows you that maybe this isn't a great fit, but only 24 years old. Only 24 years old. And last thing I'll say, just in terms of like what they could look to do in the summer, is a Mitch Marner. Like I think they'll try that. We'll see if Mitch is more interested now that he doesn't have a no move clause, but they'll try. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I was listening to the most recent episode of 32 Thoughts, and Elliot Friedman also brought that up in Carolina's favor, saying that Tom Dundon is looking and really trying to get a what they call a star player. So somebody that's a big reason why they went through with the Mikko Rantanen deal, right? And they weren't able to get him under on their terms. So if they want to make a push for Marner, like that's a team that historically really doesn't spend, and under his ownership, they don't. If they don't have to, like, they don't want to break the bank, basically. But
yeah, this is how I would describe it. It's like they know that every dollar counts, and they want to make every dollar count. So
they want to maximize their money.
Yes,
right.
And, I mean, it's funny that we're saying that right after the Kotkaniemi stuff. So that was like their thing was that was a calculated risk that they saw and said, oh, we get him at 4 whatever, he should be a $7 million player, and instead, like
he's probably at a 4.
Like, he's probably exactly.
3.5.
He's probably 3.5, 4. Like it's not like the upside was there, and it was better than the downside. So like you get it, but you're right. That is the philosophy. That and with Mitch, like I don't know, like if how much could the calculation be off? Is he gonna be a $12 million player getting paid $1.5 million more than that, 13.5? That's not that bad when you put it that way. Like that's you could be less efficient, I guess. So
I feel like to get Mitch in to Carolina, I think the number has to start probably at about 14 though. I just feel like I feel like I feel like it might be market dependent. Like maybe
definitely.
If another Carolina's not a tax free state, but let's say it was one of the tax free states, maybe that number isn't that high. Maybe it's at 12.5, 13, like you were saying. Maybe it's a little bit less, but it feels like to go to Carolina where it's already not the biggest destination market either. Unfortunately, I've heard only good things about Raleigh. But it does feel like you're going to also have to overspend because of that factor as well. So if Tom Dundon does want to make a push, I could see that number jumping as high as 14, maybe in the 14s, in the low 14s, I would expect. Does Tom Dundon have the stomach to do that? Like, is he going to put pride aside? Is my thought. That I heard that thrown out there, and that gave me a little bit of pause because they should definitely be a player for it, but can they flex their muscle, let's say, as much as some other teams could? I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. They are still in the running. Apparently, I think the last thing I saw from Darren Dreger is like there's like only a few finalists now for the Mitch Marner sweepstakes, and it's of course obviously he's got the Leafs in there, but Vegas is in there, and I believe the Canes are the other one that are still sniffing around. So